Discarded for his looks, the incredible transformation of a king once believed to be bewitched. In the heart of a fading Midwestern town, whispers floated like autumn leaves through the streets. Bewitched, they say, eyes glancing toward Jack as if he were some kind of ghost. Jack, the 35-year-old barber, stood tall but felt small, isolated by the winding glares of his neighbors. As he swept the floor of his barbershop, the scent of aftershave danced with the lingering air of despair. Years of factory closures had left the street's barren storefronts stood empty like aching memories, and laughter had been replaced with judgment. But inside Jack's shop, behind the worn leather chair and fading posters, hope flickered quietly. He had a gentle heart, a loving mom, and a few loyal friends. Jack was known for his hard work and kindness, even if his features were seen by some as odd. He didn't mind the dings and dents of the world around him, he held them close, like a badge of honor, proof that he had braved the torrents of prejudice. Every weekend, the town would come alive with barbecues, Friday night football games, and the annual 4th of July parade that caught hearts like fireflies. Yet here was Jack, battling an invisible storm as some townsfolk slapped labels on him, scratching old wounds that buried deep in their own shadows. Their disdain trickled down to their kids, embedding more misunderstandings in fragile minds. But then, like a bolt of lightning, Mr. Thompson shuffled into the barbershop one dreary afternoon. The local veteran, face marked by life and war, needed a shave and perhaps someone to lean on. Their conversation flowed like a warm breeze, unveiling the dreams they both held close. This unlikely friendship became a spark, a community mentorship program for troubled youth, lighting a path for the next generation. Yet, dreams have a way of ruffling feathers. As they laid plans for the initiative, some rallied behind it, echoing support that felt like a gentle embrace. But others whispered from the shadows, their voices sharp, just another foolish dream from the bewitching barber. The town grew divided, like a river raging against a dam. Jack's spirit started to wobble. Just when glimmers of hope twinkled in the eyes of the young boys who sought guidance, betrayal hit him like a speeding train. Someone he trusted shattered his resolve, feeding into the clouds of doubt that loomed overhead. Maybe I am the fool, he thought, holding back tears that blurred the line between despair and determination. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The stakes were high. Jack faced a town meeting, a gathering charged with tension, filled with faces hardened by years of misunderstanding. His heart thundered as he prepared to confront the very prejudices haunting his life. Unity or isolation? Acceptance or rejection? The air crackled with anticipation, and as he stood to speak, vulnerability washed over him like a wave. In that moment, he poured out the truth of his heart. Would the townsfolk choose to see his spirit instead of just his looks? The silence was thick, stretching for what felt like an eternity, as everyone held their breath, waiting to see if his courage could bridge the chasm between fear and hope. Would Jack's plea transform them, or would it deepen the very divide that had always separated him from the world? In that fragile moment, everything hung in the balance. Jack's heart raced as he stood in front of the crowd, his palms damp and tinged with uncertainty. The room felt stifling, full of unsaid judgments. He could see the skeptical glances, the tight lips, and the furrowed brows. But within that stillness, he caught a flicker of something: curiosity. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could reach them. Listen, I know some of you don't believe in my dreams, he began, voice trembling but firm. I've lived with these labels for so long. I've felt the weight of your eyes judging me. But this isn't about me. It's about our kids. It's about giving them a chance to understand compassion, to feel valued. He glanced over at Mr. Thompson, who nodded encouragingly. Jack pressed on, fueled by that small spark trying to ignite into a flame. They're up against challenges we never faced. They see a world that may not accept them, just like they see me. Let us change that narrative together. Let us show them that kindness can break down every wall. Whispers rippled through the audience, a murmur of uncertainty mingling with the slightest hints of agreement. Jack's gaze drifted toward the back of the room, where a few local boys stood. He felt their eyes on him, a flicker of hope mingled with fear. He could almost see their desire to belong, to find strength in community, but the storm had not yet cleared. A voice sliced through the air, heavy with disdain. "Why should we believe you, Jack?" It was Mrs. Reynolds, known for her unwavering grip on tradition. "You're just a barber, a man marked by a curse. What do you know about guiding these boys?" The tension spiked. Jack's heart sank. Here it was, the confrontation he dreaded. But even in that painful moment, he found a strength he didn't know he had. "What I know is that everyone deserves a chance," he replied, struggles woven into his words. "If we only listen to the noise of our doubts, we limit our capacity for love and change. Isn't that truly the curse?" The audience was silent, and he could see emotions flickering like fireflies across the faces of the townsfolk. Fear, curiosity, skepticism, and perhaps even a hint of recognition. He took another breath, feeling life flow through him even as he feared the outcome. "Let us explore this together. Let us take a leap of faith. Maybe I can't change how you see me, but I can help us all see something greater." Jack stepped back, his heart still pounding. He felt raw, exposed. Would they accept that leap? He dared to hope as he noticed Mr. Thompson standing, a supportive figure in the chaos of doubt. "Listen to him," Mr. Thompson said, voice strong and steady. "This is what our community desperately needs. We can either stay shackled to our past, or we can guide our youth to a brighter future." There it was, a thread of unity beginning to weave itself through the crowd. Some heads nodded, while others remained uncertain. Jack felt heat rising within him. Could they really come together? But before he could grasp the moment, a small boy in the back of the room shouted, "I believe in Jack." His voice rang out like a bell, echoing hope. Laughter broke the tension as more voices joined in, each adding their affirmation, their belief. The town was still at a crossroads, but a flicker of change kindled in that moment. Jack's heart surged a blend of anxiety and exhilaration. Perhaps, just perhaps, he wasn't the fool they thought. Maybe he was a leader ready to bridge the divides, yet as the energy shifted, Jack felt a chill. Change didn't come easy, and old wounds wouldn't heal overnight. Darkness still lingered for those unwilling to see. Would enough hearts open for this small blaze of hope to ignite into a fire? With the atmosphere thick with potential, Jack left the meeting, uncertainty trailing behind him. Each step felt heavy yet liberating. As he stepped outside, the dim light of dusk surrounded him. Would he find the courage to keep pushing forward even if the shadows returned? The answer loomed in the dark, waiting for him to discover it. And deep down, he knew the real challenge was just beginning. The night air was cool against Jack's skin, carrying with it the whispers of the crowd's energy still lingering in his mind. He walked toward his little barber shop, its lights twinkling like promises of tomorrow. Each step felt like wading through a thick fog of uncertainty, but he pressed on. Once inside, Jack flipped the sign to "closed" and locked the door. The familiar scent of pomade and wood polish enveloped him, grounding him in the moment. He let his gaze drift across the shop, his small sanctuary where stories were exchanged in the rhythmic buzz of clippers and laughter. It felt both comforting and isolated. Jack sank into his chair, running his hands through his hair, the weight of the meeting settling heavily on his shoulders. He was proud of the stand he had taken, but doubt crept in like a shadow. What if Mrs. Reynolds' voice was right? What if he was just a man in a barber's apron with aspirations too lofty for someone with his past? As he stared at his reflection in the dusty mirror, a flicker of resolve ignited. The flickering bulbs above cast a halo of light that felt warm and inviting. "I can do this," he whispered, more to himself than anyone else. He thought back to the boy's shout of support. That child, those few small voices, they believed in him. Perhaps that was the key. With newfound energy surging through him, Jack grabbed a broom and started sweeping the floor. Each stroke felt like a way of clearing out the remnants of self-doubt, making way for the possibilities that lay ahead. He was more than just a barber, he was a connector of people. Suddenly, a knock shattered the solitude. Jack paused, his heart racing again, but with an unexpected thrill. Who could it be? Opening the door, he found Mr. Thompson standing there, face illuminated by the porch light. His expression was earnest, reflecting the gravity of earlier discussions. "Jack, I wanted to talk," he said, stepping into the warmth of the shop. "Of course," Jack replied, competing feelings of hope and apprehension swirling within him. Damar. Thompson pulled a chair closer, settling down as if he carried a burden. "You have no idea how many folks were touched tonight." Jack's breath hitched. "Really? You think they might actually support the initiative?" "I do," Mr. Thompson said, his voice steady. "But we need to act fast. The town is still on edge. Others will push against this. Old grudges die hard. It's not just about winning hearts, it's about transforming minds." Jack felt a flicker of something dark creeping in, again a reminder of the mountains he had yet to climb. What if I don't have what it takes? "Listen," Mr. Thompson leaned in closer, intensity in his gaze. "You've already inspired belief in that room. You have the heart for this. Remember, you're not alone. There's a group ready to back you. But we need a plan." The words resonated deep within him, igniting a vision of community integration, of support and mentorship blooming like wildflowers after a storm. He felt that urge growing, the need to show everyone that they could do this together. A plan, Jack mused, the idea stirring a torrent of excitement within him. "Maybe we can organize workshops, community events. We can include the kids in volunteering. They can learn to empower each other." Mr. Thompson's eyes twinkled, already envisioning the changes. "Yes. And we can have discussions, invite families to see what we're building." Jack's mind raced as the possibilities danced around him, filling the space with electricity. But just as excitement flooded in, doubt threatened to seep through the cracks. But what if people oppose it? What if people like Mrs. Reynolds fight back? Then we confront them, respectfully and openly. "Fear can only thrive in silence," Mr. Thompson replied, passion lighting his voice. Jack nodded, realizing the pathway forward was not without its hurdles, but his heart was set on progress. The fear of rejection could not defeat the joy of connection, especially when it came to those boys who needed guidance most. As he looked into Mr. Thompson's supportive gaze, a tiny flame of courage reignited in Jack's chest. "Let us do this. Let us not just hope for change, let us make it happen." But as they began to nail down their strategy, an unsettling thought nagged at Jack. Would the community really come together, or would old wounds reopen, tearing apart his hopes? With that question hanging in the air, he felt a familiar chill. The real test loomed only moments away as he prepared to share this vision with the rest of the town. Would they embrace the journey, or would they cast him aside once again? Jack's heart thudded in his chest as the uncertainty washed over him like a cold wave. What if the town turned its back on him? What if Mrs. Reynolds and her followers had enough clout to drown out the voices of hope? The prospect felt heavy, but Mr. Thompson's encouragement lingered, a small fire in the recesses of his worry. "I need to prepare myself," he mumbled, pacing the shop. He could envision the faces of the townsfolk, some skeptical, others curious, and even a few willing to support him. He reached for a pen and paper, jotting down ideas for his speech. He wanted to strike the right balance: honesty, passion, and the undeniable connection between their shared history. Outside, the stars twinkled like watchful eyes, but inside, the weight of uncertainty pressed on him. Time slipped by, and he lost himself in thought, drowning in the what-ifs. His hands trembled slightly as he wrote, a mixture of excitement and fear coursing through his veins. Drowning out his trepidation, Jack kept focusing on the boys he had seen at the community center, each one struggling to overcome obstacles. They were the backbone of this vision, the driving force behind his need for change. If they could just see, if they could just believe. Just as he was searching for the right words, another knock startled him, sharp and unexpected. He glanced at Mr. Thompson, whose reassuring nod beckoned him to answer. He opened the door to find Jake, one of the boys from the community center. "Mr. Jack. I heard you were working on something big. Is it true?" His youthful excitement shone bright, cutting through Jack's lingering doubts. Jack knelt to meet the boy at eye level, a smile breaking across his face. "You heard about that, huh?" "Yeah, it's pretty important. Are we gonna help?" Jake's eyes sparkled with curiosity and determination. "Absolutely," Jack said, a warmth spreading through his chest at the boy's eagerness. "I need all the help I can get." "What can I do?" Jake asked, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Feeling the momentum shift, Jack replied, "I'm organizing community events. Would you be interested in helping run a workshop or two? Maybe get some of your friends together?" "Yes. Yes. That would be awesome," Jake shouted, his enthusiasm infectious. As they chatted, Jack felt encouraged by the boy's energy. He could see how this small foundation could grow into something monumental. They discussed ideas, from fun games to activities that would foster unity. Jack scribbled down notes, inspiration flooding over him again. Yet, as they planned, an unsettling thought crept in. What if not every child would feel welcome? What if old grudges seeped into the event? Just then, Mrs. Reynolds' critical face flashed in his mind like a warning sign. "Mr. Jack." Jake's voice broke through his thoughts. "What if people don't want to come?" Jack took a moment, breathing deeply. He thought of how to phrase it. "Some people might resist change," he said slowly, "but it's our job to show them that it's worth it. We want everyone to feel included and valued." Jake nodded vigorously. "We can show them it's good. I'll tell my friends." "Exactly," Jack replied, his spirits lifting. The children might just be the bridge he needed to span the chasm of division in their town. As they stood together amidst the buzzing clippers and polished wood, Jack felt the first glimmers of hope. Maybe, just maybe, they could draw this town together. But as Jake dashed off, eager to spread the word, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. When the time came to present their plan to the entire town, would they embrace it with open arms or resist it, shackled by their past? The shadows loomed, hiding the future's truth, and determination ignited in Jack's heart. He had to believe in the journey ahead. The next morning arrived with a briskness that made Jack feel both alive and anxious. The sun peeked through the clouds, casting warm rays into the shop where he spent long hours crafting his vision. Today was the day he would share his ideas with the town, and as he prepared, the weight of their expectations pressed on him like a looming storm. After a quick breakfast, Jack put on his best-worn shoes, the ones that had seen both triumphs and failures. He adjusted his favorite sweater, the one that felt like a comfort blanket, and set out into the fresh morning air. The streets were quiet, but a hum of energy vibrated through him. He remembered Jake's promise. The excitement radiating from the boy made Jack feel lighter, as if the burdens of doubt were shedding one by one. If we gather enough support, he thought, this could really change everything. At the community center, he found a small crowd slowly forming. Townsfolk came to chat, their faces lined with curiosity and concern. Some greeted him with warmth, while others nodded hesitantly, their eyes tinged with skepticism. Jack caught sight of Mrs. Reynolds across the room, her arms crossed, her gaze sharp and assessing. He took a deep breath, centering himself. "It's now or never," he whispered under his breath. Setting his shoulders back, he walked toward the center, the chatter around him fading before the pounding in his ears. "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice steadying as he scanned the faces in front of him. "I know change is hard to accept, especially in a town like ours. But I believe we can create something beautiful together. I want to ignite a spark, a way for us to bring our community closer, focusing on our youth and their dreams." He paused, grounding himself in the moment. "I've seen how much potential lies in our kids. They have courage and hope. They need us to nurture that." As he spoke, he noticed small shifts in the crowd. A mother who had been gossiping with her neighbor turned her head toward him, her expression softening. A teenager crossed his arms but leaned forward, intrigued. Even Mrs. Reynolds seemed to contemplate his words. Jack continued, recounting stories about Jake and other kids from the center, how they faced challenges and overcame them, how they inspired him. "I'm organizing workshops and activities that invite all of you to take part. Together, we can break down the walls that keep us apart. We can show the next generation what it means to support one another." While he finished, a wave of applause erupted unexpectedly from the back of the room. It was Jake, his face bright with enthusiasm. That sudden support struck a chord in Jack's heart. It felt as if a door had swung wide open, and sunlight poured in, but as the clapping spread, Jack caught Mrs. Reynolds' frown deepening. She stood up, arms still crossed, and shot forth an intent look, a challenge. "And what makes you think this will work? You speak of connection, yet our relationships are strained, our past tumultuous." Jack steadied himself, meeting her gaze. "I know it won't be easy. Change never is. But what if we tried? What if we put aside our differences, if only for our kids? Doesn't that matter more than our past?" The crowd stirred. Conversations began flickering in whispers. Jack could see hope mingling with uncertainty, and it pushed him to the forefront of his thoughts. "Would you stand with me?" Jack asked, his heart racing. "Let us give our children a place to thrive. Let's start something real." He felt a rush as people started to nod, some even murmuring affirmations. Yet, the doubt remained in the air, like a cloud not ready to disperse. In those moments, Jack recognized the fragile yet potent nature of hope. But would it be enough to ignite a genuine transformation? The clock was ticking, and he knew the real battle had just begun. As he faced the growing crowd, anticipation crackled like electricity. They had reached a pivotal moment, but would they take that leap of faith with him, or would fear hold them back? The answers lay just out of reach. Jack's heart raced as he read the growing uncertainty on the faces around him. He took a breath, feeling the warmth of support from those who dared to hope. But Mrs. Reynolds' skeptical gaze still weighed heavily. She was a voice from the past, echoing the reluctance that many felt deep inside. "Listen," Jack said, his voice louder now, cutting through the murmur. "I know this feels risky. I know it's easier to be cautious. But think about the kids. Jake, for example. He wakes up every day wanting to create, to learn, to belong. What if we gave him and the rest of them the tools they need? Why should we let fear dictate their future?" With those words, a little girl in the front row, one he recognized from the center, raised her hand. "Mr. Jack, can I help too?" Her bright eyes sparkled with innocence and purpose. That simple question struck Jack like a bolt of lightning. It was small yet powerful, a reminder that the youth he spoke about were ready, willing, and eager to break through the barriers. "Yes. Yes, you can," Jack exclaimed, pointing at her and smiling. "And everyone else can too." He gestured to the crowd. "This is about all of us. We'll create after-school programs, community events, whatever we can think of. It's about giving the kids a chance. We can make every kid feel like they matter." Some folks started nodding, an ember of hope igniting in their expressions. Jack moved through the crowd, capturing eyes, and bringing them with him. The skepticism began to twist into curiosity, maybe even belief. Each face turned from doubt to something more, a flicker of interest, a hint of possibility. But then there was a shift. Mrs. Reynolds stepped forward, cutting through the gathering warmth. "What you're talking about is noble, Jack. But it won't come free. Resources are limited, and we have our own issues. You need to understand that. Jack paused, the weight of her words hitting him harder than he expected. "I do understand," he said earnestly. "I know the burden we carry, but maintaining the status quo is what got us here. We cannot keep turning a blind eye to the talent slipping away. It's time we choose a different path." Silence fell for a moment as he watched the townsfolk digest his words. The tension wrapped around him, thick and palpable. Then, finally, a voice he hadn't expected chimed in, a local business owner, Bob, sitting in the back. "What if we pool resources? We could sponsor some of these workshops." A ripple of excitement washed over the crowd. Hope began to grow like wildflowers breaking through cracks in the pavement. "There's our start," Jack said, breathing in the transformation happening right before him. "If we rally together, we can make something amazing happen. Let us put our doubts aside, just for a moment, and act for them." More voices joined Bob's. People began to stand, reaching out with ideas, donating supplies, offering spaces, sharing skills. It was a chorus of ambition, nurturing the dreams he had envisioned. The air buzzed electric with determination. And yet, Jack couldn't shake the return of Mrs. Reynolds' intense stare. "What if it all fails, Jack?" she challenged again, still standing in that same place. "What will that do to our kids?" Jack's heart sank. What would a failure mean for the town? He thought about Jake, about the little girl who wanted to help. And just like that, clarity struck him. Their true failure would be not trying. He swallowed hard, knowing this was the pivotal moment. "We owe it to them to try," he replied, meeting her formidable gaze. "Let us not fear failure, let us fear doing nothing." The crowd erupted, pushing their enthusiasm into the air. The tide was shifting, and he could feel the collective energy. As the meeting continued, he made a pledge: a community meeting would be set this weekend to solidify plans and gather more support. The air crackled with shared purpose, and a resolution formed like fresh, bright paint on a canvas. However, as everyone dispersed, Jack noticed Jake lingering at the edge of the crowd. The boy, filled with potential and ambition, was unusually quiet. "Are you okay?" Jack asked, kneeling to meet the boy's eyes. Jake looked down, then back up with a seriousness that caught Jack off guard. "What if it doesn't work, Mr. Jack? What if they don't care enough?" In that small question, Jack felt echoes of doubt creeping back in, shadows lurking in the growing light. "We'll fight for them, Jake. We can't let fear win. This is just the beginning." But even as he spoke, a sickening worry curled in his stomach. What if his optimism, however brave, didn't hold under scrutiny? As they walked out into the fading day, Jack wrestled with the weight of his intentions. Hope and doubt entwined within him, leaving him with one haunting question. Would they have the strength to carry it through the storm that lay ahead? The morning sun broke through the clouds, scattering warm light across the town. Jack stood in front of a small group at the community center, the air thick with anticipation. The meeting had drawn more people than he expected, gathering hearts and minds around a shared dream. Each face represented a spark, hungry for change, but buried deep within was the lingering echo of doubt. Just as Jake had expressed the day before, Jack took a deep breath, standing tall before the crowd, who were now like an audience waiting for a performance. "Thank you all for coming," he started, his voice solid. "We're here today because we believe in our kids. We believe in their dreams. But we can't make this happen alone." A murmur of agreement swept through the crowd, but Jack's gaze brushed over the familiar seriousness of Mrs. Reynolds again. She sat with crossed arms, still a formidable presence in the sea of eager volunteers. Her skepticism reminded him just how delicate this mission was. He paused, considering the impact of his next words. "I want us to brainstorm ideas today. What kinds of programs or activities would you want to see? Let us unleash our collective creativity." A few hands shot up immediately. Bob, the business owner from yesterday, spoke first. "How about a summer arts camp? We could gather local artists to inspire the kids." Excitement rippled through the room. Jack nodded eagerly. Yes. Art can open so many doors for our kids. As ideas flowed, the atmosphere transformed. Someone suggested a music workshop, another a community garden. The more they talked, the more Jack's heart soared. He realized then that hope isn't just about belief, it's about action, about the willingness to stand together. Yet, the voice of skepticism snaked its way back into his mind. What if it all fell apart? As the crowd began to break up into smaller groups, Jack noticed Jacob sitting alone at a table, a frown etched on his young face. Jack approached him, kneeling again to his level. "Hey, Jake. What's on your mind?" Jake shifted, kicking at the floor softly. "Mr. Jack, I love these ideas, but what if it doesn't work for me? What if it fails?" Jack felt a knot tighten in his chest. "I understand your fear, buddy," he said gently. "But think about it, ignoring our dreams is the real failure. We owe it to ourselves to explore. Sometimes the greatest steps forward come from taking a risk." The boy looked up, his brow furrowed in concentration. Jack could almost see the wheels turning in his young mind. "But what if we work really hard, and it still doesn't happen?" "I believe that every effort we make has value, Jake," Jack replied, trying to instill courage. "Even if things don't go how we hoped, we'll learn, we'll grow. Trust me, the effort matters more than the outcome." Slowly, a spark of hope ignited in Jake's eyes, and Jack felt an overwhelming need to hold on to that spark. It reminded him that this wasn't just about programs and workshops, it was about relationships, about nurturing the promise in every child. As they rejoined the others, the discussions grew louder and more animated. Jack felt a sense of connection, the kind that knits communities together in a shared vision. But just as he let himself get caught up in the moment, the door burst open, and in walked a figure that sent a chill through him: Mrs. Reynolds. Her posture was rigid, her jaw set firmly. Jack's heart sank. Was she here to quash the fragile magic that had taken root? "Jack," she said, her voice slicing through the revelry. "I need to speak with you now." The tension in the room throbbed as eyes shifted between Jack and Mrs. Reynolds. Questions buzzed in the air. What was coming? Jack squared his shoulders. He knew the stakes, he had to face what lay ahead. "All right, let us talk," he said, moving toward her, but his heart raced. What if she was about to pull the rug out from under everything they were building? As they stepped aside, Jake watched, his face reflecting the uncertainty that hung thick in the atmosphere. Jack turned his gaze back to the boy, holding a moment before stepping forward. Into the unknown. What was about to unfold? Would they push through the barriers, or would someone damper their hopes? Jack's legs carried him to the quiet corner of the hall, where Mrs. Reynolds stood, arms crossed as if preparing for battle. She looked strong, but Jack couldn't deny the hint of vulnerability behind her resolve. "What's going on, Mrs. Reynolds?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady, despite the knot tightening in his stomach. She hesitated for a moment, her expression softening with an unexpected glimmer of tension. "I've been hearing things, Jack. Rumors about initiatives and plans. And I want to know, how can we be sure this is going to work?" Jack racked his brain for the right answer, feeling the weight of her skepticism. "This isn't just me, you know. It's about all of us. The community is coming together. We're collaborating, sharing energy and ideas for our kids." A flicker of doubt crossed her features. "The word together sounds nice, Jack, but I've been around long enough to see good intentions fall apart. I've seen communities promise change yet deliver nothing." Her words struck a chord. Jack knew she was speaking from experience, but he could sense the fear behind her harsh stance. "But what if we can change that narrative? What if we do things differently this time?" Mrs. Reynolds shook her head, her eyes narrowing slightly. "And what if you fail? What if those kids get excited only to be let down again?" He took a breath, sensing the delicate nature of the moment. "We can't let fear paralyze us, Mrs. Reynolds. Life's biggest lessons come from taking risks. Even if we don't get it perfect, we'll inspire them. We'll teach them about effort. Isn't that worth something? She turned away, staring out the window. Jack could see her wrestling with the internal battle, the hope trying to push through the barriers of fear. Just then, a gust of wind rattled the community center's windows, as if reflecting the shifting tides of their conversation. "Look," she said finally, her voice quieter now, almost vulnerable. "I care about these kids. I really do. I just worry sometimes that we're setting them up for disappointment." Jack stepped closer, wanting to reach her. "Disappointment has its place in learning, Mrs. Reynolds. We must teach them resilience. Imagine their faces when they realize they have a voice, a choice, when they create something together." She turned to face him, her expression softening. "And if they come to me later, saying it didn't work, what do I say? Tell them the truth. Tell them that every step we take is a part of the journey. Tell them you believe in them enough to let them try. Give them the space to dream, even if their dreams take a few detours along the way." A long silence hung between them, thick with unspoken hopes. Then she sighed, looking at the floor before glancing back at him. "You really think you can rally this community?" "I know we can. But I need you, too. Your voice means something. Help me show them that change is possible." He watched as Mrs. Reynolds weighed her options, the inner turmoil flickering across her face. A glimmer of resolution sparked in her eyes. "All right, Jack," she said slowly, each word deliberate. "I'll stand beside you. Just know I'll be watching closely." Relieved, Jack nodded, feeling fresh energy wash over him. "Thank you, Mrs. Reynolds. Together, we can make a real difference." As they stepped back toward the gathering, Jack spotted Jake in the same spot he had left him, uncertainty still written across his small features. He knelt down beside the boy, wanting to share the shift he felt. "Mrs. Reynolds is on board, Jake. It's not going to be easy, but we're going to try," Jack said, hoping to fuel Jake's spark. The boy's brow furrowed. "But what if we can't? Then we will learn, and we will keep going. It's part of the journey." Suddenly the door opened, and a newcomer stepped in. This one was different, a figure marked by confidence and experience, someone who could change everything for the group. Jack felt a shift in the air, excitement and trepidation mingling in the room. What fresh ideas does this person bring? He wondered, feeling a sudden rush of energy pulsing through the gathering. Was this the ingredient they needed to push forward? As the crowd turned to face the newcomer, curiosity buzzed in the air, and Jack knew they were standing at the precipice of something big. Did this person hold the key to unlocking the true potential of their vision? Would this encounter change everything? Jack held his breath as the newcomer stepped into the room, illuminated by the soft glow of the overhead lights. The figure was tall, dressed in a casual yet striking way jeans and a fitted blazer that hinted at an effortless blend of approachability and authority. There was an air of purpose about him, a certainty that made Jack's heart race in anticipation. "Hello, everyone." The stranger called out, his voice rich and warm, drawing the attention of the crowd like a beacon. As he scanned the room, Jack noticed his gaze land on Mrs. Reynolds, and for a brief moment, he thought he saw a flash of recognition pass between them. "I'm Derek," the new arrival introduced himself with a smile that seemed to disarm the room. "I'm here to help facilitate the ideas you're all brewing. I've heard incredible things already." That word incredible juiced Jack with hope. Maybe this was exactly what they needed. Maybe Derek could be the spark, the catalyst to ignite the collective potential of those gathered. "What kind of ideas?" Someone from the back called out, and the crowd murmured in agreement. Derek stepped forward, leaning slightly on a table as if to ground himself amidst the eager energy. "I believe in community-led initiatives. I've worked with several groups before and seen impossible dreams become realities. Kids learn best through experimenting, creating, and sometimes failing spectacularly. Trust me, I've watched many outgrow disappointment and discover their strengths." Jack exchanged glances with Mrs. Reynolds, her eyes widening in surprise. He could sense her walls beginning to crumble. "And what are your plans?" she asked, her voice steadier now, the challenge pushing through her initial reservations. Derek straightened, his demeanor shifting from casual to commanding. "First, we need to identify the passions of your youth. Let us build projects around what excites them, be it art, technology, music, or even sports. We'll create opportunities for every kid to shine. What if they don't get it right?" A voice piped up, breaking the current of optimism. Jack's heart sank. It was the same fear that had stifled their plans time and time again. Derek turned, locking eyes with the speaker. "Then we embrace that. Failure isn't the end, it's where the magic happens. The real world doesn't reward perfection, it rewards grit. We'll teach them that the process is often more valuable than the outcome." The crowd began to buzz, whispers of agreement ricocheting around the room. Even Jake, who had been quiet, seemed transfixed by Derek's words. Jack felt the hope swell in him, breathing life into aspirations that had seemed so far out of reach just moments ago. "Okay," Jack finally said, raising his voice to cut through the chatter. "So, how do we get started?" "Simple," Derek replied, his eyes glinting with enthusiasm. "We brainstorm. Get your ideas flowing, and let us turn them into plans. We'll host community workshops where everyone can contribute: parents, teachers, kids. We'll create a movement." Jack felt the spark ignite like fireworks in his chest. "That sounds amazing!" he exclaimed, and the crowd echoed his energy, nodding and murmuring their excitement. But then, in the corner of his eye, Jack caught a glimpse of Mrs. Reynolds. She was still, her arms now uncrossed, but she looked torn, caught between hope and the remnants of her skepticism. Jack wanted her to feel what he felt, to believe in this vision. "Derek, can we count on you to guide us through this?" he asked, his voice earnest. "Absolutely." Derek's enthusiasm was contagious, but then he glanced at Mrs. Reynolds, a knowing look crossing his features. "But it's going to take all of us. Are you with me?" She hesitated, glancing at the eager faces surrounding her. Jack held his breath, waiting for her decision. Mrs. Reynolds looked from Derek to Jack, and finally nodded, a flicker of determination igniting her gaze. "I'm in." Cheers erupted in the room as Jack felt the surge of collective joy spilling over. They were ready to face the unknown together, to take risks for the sake of their dreams. Yet, beneath the excitement, a whisper of doubt lingered. Could they truly hold it together when challenges arrived? As they gathered for brainstorming, a fresh desire filled the air, an experience Jack had not felt before. But as the meeting began to flow, Jack noticed a flicker of movement outside the window. A dark figure stood just out of sight, watching, waiting. Who were they? And what did they want? His heart thudded hard in his chest as uncertainty cloaked the excitement like a shadow. What lay ahead for them all? Would they find strength in unity, or would fear rear its head once more? The clock ticked slowly in the community center as Jack stood at the front, excitement and nerves swirling like clouds in a summer thunderstorm. Around him, faces filled with anticipation, a strange blend of hope and trepidation that he'd never seen before. They had decided to gather together, a melting pot of voices ready to challenge the past, ready to speak for change. "I can't tell you how much it means to me to see all of you here," Jack said, feeling warmth radiate from the crowd. "We're standing at a pivotal moment, and each of you holds a piece of the dream. We're here to create something meaningful together." The room nodded, a visual symphony of acceptance. He felt inspired as he glanced at Jake, who was practically vibrating with excitement at the front. "We're ready." Jake's voice rang out, his eagerness infectious. "Let us get started." With a surge of energy, Jack led the group into brainstorming sessions, their voices bouncing off the walls like joy-filled echoes. Ideas were bountiful: art camps, mentorship programs, music festivals. The air was vibrant and charged with purpose. The chains of doubt began to break apart, revealing the true potential hidden in their midst. but even as enthusiasm ignited brighter than he could have imagined, Jack couldn't shake the shadow that flickered at the edge of his heart, the figure he'd glimpsed outside. He kept an eye on the window, half expecting a storm to brew just on the horizon. Was it a harbinger of doubt echoing the past, or was it something else? As discussions rolled forward, Mrs. Reynolds found her voice. "These ideas are brilliant, but how do we keep this momentum going?" Her question hung in the air, a seed of reality blending with the high spirits. Jack took a moment, gathering thoughts that could weather any storm. "We need sponsors, volunteers, we need everyone to feel this is their dream too." His voice rose with passion. "If this is going to work, we all have to buy into it, every single person in town. Let us share the burden, and together we'll create something beautiful." As he spoke, people began to rally around their own ideas, volunteers stepping forward to lead different events. Jack turned back to the window. The figure was gone, but uncertainty still loomed familiar, but now a mere shadow, backlit by the glow of hope. Was it possible to truly overcome the weight of the past? The meeting continued to unfold, a tapestry of hopes and dreams woven into the walls around them. Laughter punctured the air. Brad, a local teacher, stood to add, "Can we have the kids involved in planning? They need to feel ownership." Jack nodded vigorously, wholeheartedly agreeing. "Absolutely. They will be our guiding voices." The room vibrated with energy again, this time a sense of unity. They could do this, together. As they fleshed out details, even Mrs. Reynolds began to share small ideas, adding her strengths to their collective endeavor. Hours flew by, and a swell of determination and community spirit enveloped them. They divided tasks and set dates, promising to meet again soon. Jack's heart soared as a deep-rooted bond grew amongst them. They weren't just talking about change, they were living it. Then suddenly, laughter and cheer turned to hush as the doors swung open. Standing in the threshold was the last person Jack expected, Mrs. Reynolds' granddaughter, a girl around 10. She stood wide-eyed, clutching something close to her chest, seemingly caught in a moment of surprise. With curiosity, Jack made his way over. "What's up, sweetie?" I wanted to help." The girl's voice trembled lightly, but her eyes sparkled with determination. "I overheard Grandma talking, and I made a sign." She lifted her hands, showcasing a hand-painted poster boldly reading, "We can do this." With colorful drawings surrounding it, the room let out a chorus of awe as hearts melted. Jack knelt down, grinning from ear to ear, the weight of any lingering worries lifting. "That's incredible. Will you help us hang it up?" The girl nodded eagerly, her expression setting the tone for the night ahead. It was then that Jack realized not only were they transforming the community, they were transforming hearts. As they hung her sign together, a wave of warmth blanketed the center. Jack looked around, catching the eyes of everyone who believed that they could take this leap of faith together. The figure outside could remain blurred in memory, the real magic lay here within this vibrant community. In that moment, Jack realized, we're not just fighting for our dreams, but for each other. Time melted into energy, laughter filled the center again, and as everyone left, Jack felt purpose coursing through his veins. The future felt bright, a kaleidoscope of colors and experiences ready to unfold. That press of shadows had ebbed away, at least for a bit. He could hold on to belief, fueled by the promise of connection, the hope of potential realized, and the joy of being together. The night was young as Jack walked home, his heart a tapestry of hope interlaced with love for his community. He held the weight of possibilities that colored their fate and glimpsed a future forged through these united spirits, and as he reached the door of his barber shop, Jack whispered a promise to himself, "I won't stop fighting for them. Together, we can be unstoppable." Outside, the stars gleamed above like shimmering dreams, a promise of brighter days ahead. 2 long breaths filled his lungs, as Jack entered the sanctuary of his shop, looking forward to tomorrow and all the beautiful possibilities waiting just beyond the horizon. But if you felt that spark of inspiration from this story, this is the moment to make your voice heard. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm, it truly makes a difference. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about the ending. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to be part of this community, and you can show your support like never before. Don't wait not even one more second to share.